14 WILI and 95.3 FM presents Hometown Threads, a closer look at our community and the people that make it go. Every week, you'll hear uplifting stories from our local businesses and our neighbors. Now, here's our host for Hometown Threads, Keith C. Rice.
Welcome into episode 23 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI, 95.3 FM, and Willimantic Today Facebook. Keith C. Rice. Back here after a week off, a little vacation. How about them Celtics, huh? With them Celtics.
Good to see.
We'll get to our special guest in just a sec. Hometown Threads comes your way every week, unless I'm on vacation. Then you'll get a rerun show like we did last week. Hope you enjoyed the Rick Nassif show, by the way. Of course, Hometown Threads brought to you by Liberty Bank, our friends over at Liberty Bank. Be community kind with 3 local locations. West Main Street, I think I know the manager over there, my wife, Marianne Gargoni, over in the Ocean State Job Lot parking lot, Gateway Commons, West Main Street. Of course, across the street from the radio station at 679 Main Street, Angela Smart and her crew at Liberty Bank. And then the Liberty Bank on Route 195 in Mansfield. Hello to Carrie Small, the manager up there. So thanks to Liberty Bank, be community kind. J. Matt Rupar. Thank you very much. Say hello.
Hello.
As our producer. And hello to the staff and the admin team over at Willimantic Today Facebook, Hometown Threads. Just in case you're new to the show, is about when we talk to our community members and the people that make our community go. It could be a business owner. It could be just a well-known name. Someone who's got a story to share. And today for episode 23, it's a pleasure to bring in longtime friend. Haven't seen him since I did a live broadcast over at the Batter's Box. Ken Buchanan.
Good to see you, Keith.
Kenny B, thanks for stopping. Can I call you Kenny B?
Absolutely. My softball buddies call me that, actually.
Oh, good. KB, also a big New York Mets fan, but a Celtic fan, too. Yeah. I'm a Red Sox fan, so we kind of differ on the whole
Red Sox are my second team.
Really?
Oh, sure.
Mets and Red Sox. Yeah. Let me guess, 86? Is that where it started with you?
86. Well, I had a lot of friends mad at me in college watching that game together.
See, I can watch 86 now. I can watch 2003.
Sure.
I can watch, I missed another heartbreak there for the Red Sox. There were plenty of them throughout the years. But now, you know, the Red Sox have done a lot of winning. Not recently getting swept by the Cardinals over the weekend. Playing a little above their heads, but anyway, you know, it's easy to watch Red Sox games now. And of course, the Celtics look great with Jason Tatum, so we could go all day with sports. But we bring in Ken Buchanan from the Batter's Box, Route 6 in Columbia. How long has the Batter's Box been in business now?
22 years.
22 years.
Yeah, started in 01.
Wow. So let's go back and way before the Batter's Box. And you grew up in this community, correct?
Well, I started in college here at Eastern.
Also, you came to this community via college, so ECSU. Correct. Where did you grow up?
Kind of split. Born in New Jersey. Lived in the Virgin Islands for a while.
The Virgin Islands?
St. Croix.
Now, take us out. Right. So you're born and raised in New Jersey?
Correct. So about 7.
So that's why you're a Mets fan, probably, because in New Jersey.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
What part of New Jersey?
Well, born in Long Branch.
Okay.
And my grandparents, who raised me, lived in Leonardo.
Okay.
Which is a little beach town.
Right. I spent some time in the Jersey Shore living in Toms River, so I'm quite familiar with Jersey.
Sure.
Okay, so how many years were you in Jersey, and what took you to the Virgin Islands?
Yep, about 7 years in New Jersey. My grandfather worked for Hess Oil, and he got transferred to St. Croix, which at the time was the largest oil refiner in the world.
Wow.
And we moved down there, lived in like a employee village that they had down there where all the employees, the upper supervisors, management lived. And what a place. And that's back in the 70s.
You still got a tan, too.
I've got my sun roots probably from then, right? But back then, I mean, you talk about a Virgin Island, you'd walk on the beach and the shells would just be sitting right there on the beach.
Wow.
No tourism, really. I mean, very little.
I've been on cruises. I just came back from Marco Island, Florida, where they have beautiful seashells as well. But I've never been to the Virgin Islands, and it sounds amazing. Oh, my goodness. So, again, how many years were you down there?
So I moved down there when I was about 7, and I believe around 13 or so, my father kind of wanted me to come back. He got his life established, so to speak, and moved back up with him. For a few years, didn't work out so well. So my grandparents kind of took me back under their wing, but at the time I was getting ready to go into college. And went to Ellington High School at the time.
Oh.
And then went to Eastern.
Now tell us about. We'll go back to you're at Ellington High School. What other colleges besides ECSU are you looking into? Besides
That was it.
just Eastern.
Yeah, that was it.
Was it a baseball thing?
No, I did want to play baseball, and we had some discussions
Holowati?
at the time. Yep. And I was looking sociology with a focus for criminal justice, and did try out for the team. Had a couple injuries that first year, and unfortunately, and I kind of regret it, kind of gave up on it.
Really?
And I still to this
Were
day,
you an all-state player at Ellington?
all conference. I don't remember if I was all state. I was captain of the team.
What position?
I played third base, which is kind of a funny story because I wasn't really a good true third baseman.
Really?
I was more of an outfielder.
You weren't a Raffy Devers?
But the outfield was kind of filled with some other guys that were already kind of established there.
Okay.
So kind of got stuck at third. Would make some plays, but throwing arm was more for the outfield. So I had some issues with throwing sometimes. I still remember that.
You can see where the batter's box comes into play later down the road.
That's right. That's right.
So Ellington to Eastern. Take us through. You enroll at Eastern, and what year
So
is
that
this?
was 84. In 88, finished and started applying to some police departments, and it was like the perfect timing that when I finished that spring with Eastern, in the summer or so, I believe they started advertising for Willimantic Police Department.
Because you were studying criminal justice, so you kind of wanted to go down that road
I
for
did.
being a police.
Oh,
You're all
I
about
really-
being a cop.
Oh, I really wanted to be a police officer.
In Willimantic, well, you just happened to. I don't know how that works.
The
Why'd you-
timing of it was they just were advertising, and here I was, and lived here in town, and,
Perfect.
and applied with about 300 people for 3 positions, and got hired. Yeah,
Now, what other positions were you applying for within the police
the
department?
police officer, just
Just the-
patrolman.
okay.
Patrolman.
And so, how many years were you with the Willimantic Police Department?
Well, I started in 1989 and hurt my knee. I'm trying to remember, maybe maybe a little more than that. 6, 7 years down the road, perhaps. Hurt my knee a couple times.
How'd you hurt it? Oh, just
Chasing somebody.
Really?
The first time was someone actually that robbed the laundromat down on River Plaza.
Wow.
And,
Can you tell us a little story?
Oh, sure.
Let's hear it.
Sure. So I was coming down High Street, got the description, saw the person matching the description exactly. So got out of the car, was talking to them. They, of course, were denying that they were down there. And at that point, more information was coming in. It was very, very obvious that's who it was. So he was starting to act a little nervous, like he was going to take off. He goes to run away. I grab him by his winter coat, which of course wasn't zipped up. So I'm standing there with the coat because he was. So now we run up High Street, and then we get up on the side of.
It's just you and him, right?
It's just the two of us at that time. At that point, yeah. So got up onto the side of where Willie Brew is now.
Wow.
And got him under control and got him handcuffed, and it twisted my knee at that point. So it was just kind of hurt a
So
little bit.
that's the night where the knee really went
That was
south.
first time. And then, of course, I never like to be out of work. So I go get it checked out, but I don't take time off. Like a week later, I think it was, got into a pursuit with a car that had no plates or
A
something.
week later?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. This is back in 89. Or no, this is back in the 90s. So Willimantic was a little nuts for a while. So we were chasing down Main Street, and they took off. And I wound up chasing him on foot all the way down.
Well, a bad knee.
Well, yeah, but I was young and I
Yeah.
loved the job.
I guess so.
I didn't care. So wound up tackling him down, way down towards Chapman Street.
Wow.
And at that point, it was hurting. It was pretty bad. So
So it gets worse then. And again, how many years are you already been a cop at this point? This is the first.
probably 6 or 7.
Oh, so it's 6, 7 years in.
Yep.
And okay, so you get the knee checked out after these two
Right.
situations, after these two incidents.
Right.
What's the doc saying? I mean,
Some
what's the
torn cartilage and stuff like that. So I had to have some surgery at some point. I don't remember exactly how long after that.
And you like what happens when a cop is hurt? Are you out of work for the? You'd be out of
I
work
don't
for
workers' comp.
workers' comp for how long? Probably.
I don't remember, a couple of months maybe with a scope, some cartilage or something like that. Maybe as far as full duty,
Yeah.
maybe 2 months.
So the knee eventually heals somewhat, and you're back.
It does, but it was very disappointing because it was never great after that. And even after I had 4 surgeries while I was still on the police department, and then had a 5th
What?
after I retired.
All the for the knee?
For left knee. So now I've had 6 because now I have a total knee replacement.
Wow.
So it just got progressively worse over time.
And we're talking about off the air how you just you reached the point where you're like, I think you had to make a decision, or they made a decision for you. Like,
the town was talking to me about having to retire with a disability pension, which I really didn't want to do because I really loved the job. And so it kind of got in my head that, if I'm going to have to retire at some point in the future, maybe this will be a good time to look into a baseball, softball business that I've been thinking about for a long time.
We will get to that. Ken Buchanan from the Batter's Box is with us, Route 6 in Columbia. Looking forward to hearing how that started up. This is Hometown Threads on 14 WILI, 95.3 FM, and Willimantic Today Facebook. Brought to you by Liberty Bank, be community kind. So before we get into the start of the Batter's Box, I just want to I want to talk a little bit more about the police situation. You were working in a time, and we addressed this a little off the air as well. Again, you started in 1989. It's so tough to be a police officer or a cop these days. I can't imagine what's it was you. So you were totally in a different time period as far as what's going on these days. Any thoughts on what cops are dealing with these days? I mean, or it's just
pretty sad.
It's
just hard. I can't even imagine trying to stay motivated to go out there and stay busy and do things that you need to do to keep the community safe and to get certain people off the street.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the end game is, from political standpoints.
We're not going to.
That's a whole nother story.
It is. But back when you were on the police force, you really didn't have to worry about that. It seemed like,
No, you really felt, and to be honest with you, you've really felt like there was a lot of support. I mean, and
now
when you did your job, I mean, even the judges I remember back in the day would be like, you did what, or you fought with, a police officer, and they took it seriously, and it was not condoned, that's for sure.
It just seems like everything's split down the middle now. It's just it's weird. It's just got to be extremely tough to be a cop these days. All right, so let's get into you eventually have to leave the police force, and that is I know you opened the Batter's Box in 2001.
Correct.
But what year did you leave the police force?
I believe it was about a year and a half after that. And that's when, again, the town came to me for a second time.
Second time?
The Batter's Box had already opened and took off right away, which was...
Wait, I'm sorry, the Batter's Box was already open?
I opened it prior to retiring.
Oh, prior to retiring.
Sure.
Oh, I did. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about that
Because I wanted to make
process.
sure that it was stable.
Good for you.
Before I made a decision to go.
And it's always been in that same spot, Route 6 in Columbia?
Yeah.
Because I remember, in fact, that was probably... I'm trying to think if I'm the one... Well, I-98, our sister station, used to do live broadcasts there. In fact, I was the guy who...
Sure.
I wonder if I did that... So the grand opening was, 2001, right?
I want to say the first time you were there. I do.
I might have been there in 2001.
Yeah, I want to say that. And there was some interns that would come, I think.
It was always a big deal. I think I got in the cages there.
Yep.
I got to get over there again one of these days. But so you did get it going before you retire, which is a good move. You got it up and running.
Right.
Tell us about that process. Was that... And how did the idea of the Batter's Box pop into your head? I know you love sports.
I always played a lot of baseball and softball, younger, and even back, when I was in my 20s and 30s, played a lot of serious softball and even some Twilight League baseball. And there wasn't a whole lot of stuff around here. You had to drive to Manchester if you wanted to use any indoor cages. That used to be Grand Slam, which is no longer there. And also for equipment, it was getting into that internet age, where a lot of people were looking online. They saw these great deals on bats and gloves, and some local places here, were a little more expensive. You went to the mall, and they didn't really have a whole great selection.
And Nasus was probably still in business at this point, so you kind of were up against them a little, right?
We were, and and I still kind of remember. No offense to Nasus, because I was a big customer in Nasus. Spent a lot of money there, and. Them being a multi-sport store, you'd go in at certain times later in the year.
Sure.
They didn't have a whole lot of inventory because they were clearing it out for that next sport coming in, like a lot of big stores.
Good point.
Whereas we specialized in baseball and softball stuff, and I didn't mind having inventory all the time because it's not going to go to waste for the summer season or the fall season.
That's right. So indirectly, you really didn't, because you just brought up a good point. Nasus was all year round skiing and hiking or whatever, tennis, and you guys just focused on baseball and softball.
Correct.
And there really was no other game in town for that.
Right. Yeah. And then I still remember, as a matter of fact, I remember a specific story where someone would walk in, pick up a bat, and they'd say, "Oh yeah, I just bought this bat at Nasus." And they'd stop talking, and I'm like, "What's the matter?" And they're like, "I spent $40 more than this." And I would be like, well, I hate to tell you, but it's also on sale. So when you beat somebody by $5, they might not tell anybody. But when you beat them by $40 or $50 on a baseball or softball bat,
That's got to
the
be.
word spread fast. So
Yeah.
we have the largest inventory in Connecticut now
Are you serious?
Yep.
At the batter's box?
for baseball and softball equipment.
For Route 6 and batter's box, Route 6 in Columbia. So that is, wow, that's, and I know when I actually, I'm the one who still voices the commercials every now and then.
Sure.
It's, you guys always stress, see, I remember this, below internet prices.
Right.
And that's one thing you guys have always, prided yourselves on, along with what? You know, I know you sell bats, gloves. What are the most
do.
Marini? Well, I'm thinking of gloves and stuff. Name some of the. Well, Easton's a bat, right? A
Sure.
popular bat.
For bats, the most popular ones would be Easton, Mizuno, Rawlings, Louisville, and DeMarini.
Well, it's been a while since I picked up a bat too, because I grew up playing Little League, and then and just I can still hear. In fact, I just did the opening day ceremonies for Willimantic Little League over at Legion.
Oh, I
I'm sorry,
did see
Mooney
that.
Haddad Field.
That's
Mooney
right.
Haddad Field.
That's right.
So, do they? Do you help provide some of the bats for?
We do the equipment for Willimantic.
Willimantic Little
We do
League.
the equipment for most of the towns in the area.
How about that? So, Batter's Box, the the official equipment headquarters for Willimantic Little League, and you said other schools and stuff like that.
Other schools, other little leagues, all the surrounding towns.
So how many? It's been a while since I've been over there. And again, I got to get over there soon because I'm dying to get back. And every time I see a batting cage, I'm like, I got to pick up a bat. It's I probably should stretch first. I just turned 51.
Well, I always tell all the customers we have Band-Aids and we have ibuprofen behind the counter. And the ambulance gets there real fast if you pull something.
Well, you got connections to that probably.
Right.
So, what are the hours of the batter's box these days, and how many cages do you guys have? Tell
So
us
our
about
spring, our hours change throughout the year because the kids are in school, obviously.
Yeah.
So there's no sense in a lot of times of the year opening early. So like right now, for example, on weekdays we open at noon, we close at 8 p.m. And then on Saturday is 10 to 8, Sunday is 10 to 7.
Nice.
And the reason we open a little bit later in the morning on the weekends, sometimes people ask that, is because we do a lot of instruction for hitting and pitching lessons. So we do our pitching lessons typically in the mornings before we open. So people will come in between like 8 and 10 to do pitching lessons if the weather is bad outside, because we go right inside the big area where the cages are and do the lessons in there.
Talk a little about that. The lessons. How big is your staff? I know you're probably doing some of the lessons. I would imagine. Right?
I don't actually,
You
because
don't?
I'm too busy a lot of times with making sure that the store is staffed. Sometimes I have to work, obviously behind the counter, and also scheduling and things like that. So I can't guarantee that I could do some lessons, and I'm pretty good knowing that stuff. But the guys that I have are awesome.
Now, talk a little
Awesome.
about your instructors and the staff over at the batter's box.
We always have at least 2 instructors available. One of our big instructors has been around for a long time is Coach Mike Corona, who actually pitched at Eastern.
Really?
Sure.
Oh wait, I don't know what year. I think was it one of the national championship teams?
I was afraid you were going to ask me.
Well,
as soon
no, I'm
as I
sorry,
said
I'm gonna
that,
put you on the
because
spot.
he was. They didn't win the championship, but they were certainly very good. And
Eastern's always had good teams.
he's 40-something years old now.
So he's a pitcher. Okay.
He was a pitcher.
So
correct.
you got him in for an instructor. Who else?
Right.
Any other
Right.
ECSU?
Well, we have a younger guy. His name is Tim Hanlon, who played a little bit for UConn Avery Point.
Okay.
And he's done some camps and things like that. So it was a good younger guy to get in and start getting used to doing the instruction and stuff. And he's worked out really well just for hitting. He knows some pitching stuff, but he's not quite as good with the mechanics and
We're going
stuff.
to jump off the batter's box for a second, because another thing we talked about before the show started, I always have to kick back, and I think I talk more with the guests sometimes before and after the show. And poor Matt's like, can we get the show on the road here? You brought up UConn Avery Point. Talk a little about your son, who had an incredible, broke some records over at Bolton, and he's going to be attending UConn Avery Point. Tell us about your son. Is he just a basketball player, or does he play baseball too?
Don't even get me going about the baseball. He's
Get
an
at it.
unbelievable baseball player.
Oh, okay. I figured you'd say you didn't
And
play
he
baseball.
stopped playing years and years ago.
Why? Because he just loves basketball.
Just loves basketball.
Well, good for him. But still,
But you wouldn't even believe how good he is at baseball. It's, to be honest with you, I think he's better.
what's his name?
Trevor.
Trevor Buchanan.
Correct.
So he, you think? I'm going to put you on the spot, Dad. You think Trevor is a better baseball player than basketball player, or
And he's a really good basketball player.
he's a really good basketball player too? But you think you give the edge to baseball with him?
If I think overall, It's close, but perfect example. When he was 4 years old, he used to hit in the 70-mile-per-hour batting cage.
When he was how old?
4 years old.
Come on, 70 miles
4
per hour?
years old. The people would think,
I want video proof of this.
People would think that he didn't switch the switch to slow pitch softball, and they would tell him in line, "Oh, you forgot to flip the switch." And he would turn around at 4 years old and look at them and say, "I want baseball."
That's like a Tiger Woods story when Tiger was a kid.
That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Wow.
And still to this day, he won't touch a bat for months. He'll come into the batter's box, and he'll jump in the cage 70 mile an hour and just ripping line drives. It drives me crazy.
I was going to say.
And he's an unbelievable outfielder.
Oh, wow. Do you think the time will ever come where Trevor is going to go, I love basketball, but I kind of miss... Do you think he kind of misses it? Or?
He does kind of miss it. He didn't really want to play this year at Bolton because being a small school and knew that they weren't going to be so great at baseball this year, which is too bad because I think he could have helped them, be even better. But basketball, I mean, I can't argue with him.
Right,
he finished with 1,195 points for his
1,100,
high school.
and that's a Bolton record?
It was not a record because of COVID.
Because of COVID. Oh.
And they only played 10 games that year.
But
and
still.
He would have surpassed, I believe he would have surpassed as long as he stayed healthy.
So he's getting ready to go to UConn Avery Point.
UConn Avery Point.
And he'll start there in the fall?
In the fall.
And now his goal is to play UConn Avery Point. Maybe this. What do you think his whole transfer portal too? Not to get way off the subject, but
it's bigger and bigger every year.
And it goes for any Division 1, 2, or 3.
Any sport.
Yeah.
These poor kids that are seniors now in high school, people don't get looked at as much as they do because the coaches have the ability to just bring in a junior or senior to fill the spots that they need instead of focusing on who to recruit as a high school senior and then build up their program.
You think Trevor is good enough to play D1?
I don't think so, but I would never say never because you see the stories, right?
How tall is he?
He's about 6'2.5".
So he's a guard? No.
Yep, shooting guard. Yeah, he's number 2 probably.
So he stops into the batter's box every now and then?
Sure.
Helps you out? That's
sure.
Great. And is that your only child?
No, I have an older son, Carter, as well.
Is Carter into sports?
He was a good baseball player. He actually went to Becker and was doing some pitching at Becker College. Okay. And then the rumors were getting out that Becker College was closing. Oh. Which did wind up being true. Oh. He went to Nichols, and he had some injuries with his neck or his shoulder, and just kind of faded off on the baseball side of it. But he just graduated this past January. He had a couple extra classes that didn't transfer when he transferred, so he had to finish
What's
up.
he doing now?
He is coaching. He loves coaching baseball, and he's coaching at a private school up in Massachusetts, St. John's.
Good for him.
And he's also... doing some sub work for getting ready to find a full-time job that fits the schedule so he can hopefully keep coaching.
Closing minutes here with Ken Buchanan from the Batter's Box, Route 6 in Columbia. That's a question I want to ask you before we get ready to wrap things up. Did you ever consider coaching? You must have at some point.
I did. The hardest thing for me, like even with the Little Leagues when everybody wanted me to coach, I couldn't make the commitment because that was the craziest time for the Batter's Box. So how do you say, okay, I'll coach when things are nuts from February to April, even May?
Yeah, because that's your hot season right there, February to May.
Sure.
And then of course the summertime is always a popular time.
Oh, it stays super steady.
Yeah,
super steady.
And then it kind of, I don't want to say, it never, because you're open all year round, right?
Correct.
So, okay, what happens when school comes back? I mean,
well, the craziest thing, years and years ago, I always said, is it even worth being open like in November or December? But we actually sell tons of stuff for the holidays out of the store. We stock up on all the new equipment, bats and gloves, in November to get ready for Christmas. And even November, when you would think nothing is going on, we always have people in there. Always have people coming in. So
you guys have grown and grown over the years. And why don't you go ahead and shout? I know you just mentioned a few instructors. Go ahead and give a shout out to the other people on your staff and some of the other people that help that business
Sure.
go.
Well, we have full-time Jeff and another part-timer who's a college student at Eastern Mason, who everybody does a great job. And I appreciate them so much for what they do. They're a great place to work, to be honest with you. I never ever say, oh, no, I got to go to work. I mean, it is great.
Seems like a fun job.
I joke. I used to say, as a police officer, I used to chase all the bad kids. Now all the nice kids come in and they hand me money.
Wow. So congratulations. It's been going strong since 2001. And as I say in the commercials, the Batter's Box, below internet prices. Route 6 in Columbia. keep it going. Congratulations on all the
Thanks
success.
very much for having me.
Is there anything else you'd like to push? One more thing about the batter's box. Anything you got? Any
No, one thing I did want to mention, even when I was driving over here, is about how the funniest thing when you kind of connect my police officer job to working at the batter's box is all the people that I have come in these days, which is very, very refreshing to see, that are maybe 40, 45, 50, even 55, 60 years old, that remembered me as a police officer, and they weren't so great back in the day, and they've turned themselves around. They've got kids. It's really refreshing to see that when they come in.
You know, you've just continued a trend how we've been wrapping up the show, right? Jay Manrupar, it seems like we always end up on a very, the guests have been having a great positive note to conclude the show, and there you go. Ken just did it again. So you were, how high did you go, by the way, real quick, one last question. How high in the police force?
I was a patrolman.
Just a patrolman? So they called you Officer Buchanan?
Correct.
Okay, former Officer Buchanan, fellow Celtic fan, Ken Buchanan from the batter's box, Route 6 in Columbia. Go down and check him out, say hello. Go Celtics, right?
And the Mets.
Yep.
Which aren't doing so great.
Well, they're the same boat with the Red Sox. Thank you, Ken.
I know.
All right, great to see Ken Buchanan here on episode 23 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI, 95.3 FM, and Willimantic Today Facebook. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
And that concludes another edition of Hometown Threads. Got a story for Keith? Reach out to him on Facebook by searching Keith C. Rice or email him at krice@hallradio.net. Don't forget to tune in next week on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM, as well as the Willimantic Today page on Facebook.